So your Pittsburgh Steelers, they just quietly found a familiar solution to a huge problem. And what I'm talking about is that the win in Dublin, Ireland came at a price. Calvin Austin, he's hurt. Shoulder injury might keep him out for a few weeks. So what are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to do, right? The normal thing, the first knee-jerk reaction is to see what you have in Roman Wilson. And I think there's a lot of intelligence to that comment. Roman Wilson, it might be time to finally trust him, finally put him out there, finally actually target him and see what you have in this player. And you drafted him to be a number 2 receiver. It's time to see what you have. Possibly put him in the slot, see what he can do. I'm going to talk about him, but the solution that I'm talking about harkens back to Aaron Rodgers' time with the Jets, harkens back to his time with the Green Bay Packers. And there's a player that a lot of you were pounding the table to bring onto this squad the second that Aaron Rodgers was signed. I'm talking about Allen Lazard. Now, take it easy here. I'm not saying that we run out and get Allen Lazard, but he is a particular player type. And a couple weeks ago, there was a low-key signing brought onto this Pittsburgh Steelers squad that possibly fits that mold perfectly. And if Wilson is not the solution, if Roman Wilson is not a player that they want to trust, I think it's time to activate this player, plug him in, and he's a familiar face just like Allen Lazard is, and maybe actually might be a higher quality player. So I'm going to talk about him in just a second. But let's talk about the heavy price that was paid by you guys with the win overseas. First of all, the Jalen Ramsey injury, right? I absolutely hate the fake injury celebration. He faked tearing his hamstring on the interception. It was called back, but he did run it in for the touchdown. Did that fake injury. Sure enough, if you believe in the football gods, I don't. I believe in the one triune God as a pastor, but for lack of a better way of talking about it, if you believe in the football gods, karma got him. Sure enough, in the fourth quarter, he came up with a real hamstring injury, which is no bueno. He's going to be out several weeks, most likely. And then you have the heavy price of the Calvin Austin injury. Look, it was a shoulder injury. He left the game in a sling. All I have been able to dig up so far is that he came back from treatment. He came back into the facility. No arm slings. So we'll see how long he's out. But suffice it to say, he's going to be out for probably the game after this bye. So what do you do? So let's kind of talk about this. Austin's likely going to be out several weeks, and that's according to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac, and when he talks, we all listen, right? He is kind of the gold standard. And if you're thinking about this, do they go outside the organization to replace this player? I mean, you look at a few days after an evaluation on a previously injured player, the Steelers went out and grabbed Jabril Peppers, right? The Patriots cut him. They grabbed him, and he was a very good addition. He is showing immediate dividends, and I think he's going to be a quality piece to this team at the safety position to pair up with Deshaun Elliott. What are the Steelers going to do outside of this organization? I'm not going to do a story advocating for Odell Beckham Jr. I'm just not going to do that. I don't think there's a lot out there without a costly trade. So maybe it's time for Roman Wilson, right? For some reason, he cannot find his footing with this organization. Rookie season derailed by injuries, and it looks like that the coaching staff just isn't confident in him, and I don't really get it. He had a pretty excellent training camp. He flashed in the preseason. I really thought that he was going to come on as the number 2 receiver on this team and that Calvin Austin was going to be number 3. Something happened internally that we're not seeing. Calvin Johnson? Have I been saying Calvin Johnson? I'm sorry if I have. Calvin Austin absolutely balled out so far. I'm really proud of how he's coming on as a receiver. No complaints there. But he's fallen out of favor with the coaching staff somehow. And Roman Wilson, I think it's time to trust him. And I think also he has formed a rapport with Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers, he did have something to say during camp. And this may be what sums up what the problem is. What Aaron Rodgers said is that he needed Wilson to trust himself more. And through 4 weeks of the regular season, it looks like the Steelers aren't trusting him yet. Maybe the problem is his confidence. Anyways, that's just a little excerpt from Aaron Rodgers that I remembered from during the offseason. But the player I want to talk about that might be the solution that's hiding in plain sight, and I would really love for the Steelers to activate this player. I'm talking about when they signed veteran wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins a couple weeks ago. And he really mirrors the skill set that Aaron Rodgers absolutely loves in his wide receivers. Most namely, he really models the skill set and the size of a Jordy Nelson, and most recently, an Allen Lazard. And also, I think the signing of Isaiah Hodgins, when it happened, I think in a way it was voicing a lack of confidence in Roman Wilson when he was signed a couple weeks ago. And you're also looking at Hodgins. He had his best year in the league. It came in 2022, and that's after he was traded from the Bills to the New York Giants. What did he do that year? And this was the resurgent year of the New York Giants. They came out of nowhere, and he had 4 touchdowns. He caught 33 passes for 351 yards after he came on the team, and only started 5 games. Once again, a very similar skill set to that of Allen Lazard. You guys know that's one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets during his time with the Green Bay Packers, and also he was on the Jets team. Just tall, a really lengthy wide receiver, and Hodgins has shown during his time with the Giants that he could definitely win over the middle, and he could also high point the ball with contested catches. So what does that show us when they brought him on the team? First of all, maybe that's what Pittsburgh is looking for in their wide receivers. He has almost the polar opposite skill set of Roman Wilson. And also to learn more about what Hodgins brings to Pittsburgh, Adam Holt. He covered the Giants while Hodgins was with the team, and he shares what Isaiah Hodgins brings to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm just going to read straight from him. Hodgins, he's an intriguing piece to add for Pittsburgh, mainly due to his size. He is big at 6'3", and he uses that size effectively. With limited size and some of the other options at wide receiver for the Steelers, granted he's talking about Roman Wilson and other options, they're not huge, Aaron Rodgers will probably like to see a big body addition that provides depth and for some serious red zone upside. This wideout has strong hands and excelled at extending passing plays in college when the plays break down. Rodgers doesn't mind moving around in the pocket a bit to buy time for his targets to find space, and Hodgins, he definitely understands how to do that. I like this fit for both sides, and it wouldn't surprise me if Hodgins sticks around in Pittsburgh. So if you argue that it's not Roman Wilson time, if you argue that it's not Isaiah Hodgins time, it's a perfect time for Hodgins to actually be activated and get acclimated with his team during the bye. He's going to have 2 weeks of practice. But anyways, who do you have if you choose not to do that? You've got Scotty Miller. He was one of the bright spots in the offseason. You've got Beg Skowronek. They've outpaced Wilson at times this offseason and this season. Definitely have during the regular season. And also this summer, Pittsburgh, they tried to get Wilson to click. But now that he's healthy in his second season, maybe it's time to roll the dice. I don't know. I don't think Scotty Miller and Ben are huge solutions. I think they're veteran stopgaps. I don't think they are ready to fill in as a number 2 receiver. Scotty Miller, he did all that in the offseason against, he wasn't against starters. It was preseason. Put him up against real competition. I think he will show why he didn't stick with a couple other teams before this. I think he's a really good depth piece too, and he's a guy that's easy to root for. The guy has a great attitude. But I think it's time to see what you have with Roman Wilson. And if it's not Roman Wilson time, I think it's absolutely essential to elevate, to bring onto the active roster Isaiah Hodgins and see if he can use that size, speed, high point advantage that he was showing during that breakout time with the New York Giants. I think it's worth it. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. You got to do something. And outside of a trade that we're not expecting, Tyreek Hill is no longer a thing. He might not ever play football again. The options are getting really slim as far as even trade targets. You've got to look at teams that are struggling and try to like sneak away one of their best players. But in order to do that, it's going to cost you draft capital, right? And for a team that's looking for a quarterback of the future, for a team that has some holes still, for a team that frankly could still use drafting a high-end wide receiver in the draft to help fill out this receiving core, not to mention a quarterback, giving up a first-round draft pick for a premier receiver in the NFL, I think it hamstrings you getting a quarterback next year, because if Aaron Rodgers doesn't stay, you're not going to go into this team that you've spent so much money on and have Mason Rudolph be the quarterback. No matter how much you guys love him as a player and as kind of a folk hero in Pittsburgh, he is not the guy. So let me know what you think. It's been so fun doing this channel. I'm a Bears guy. I have a successful Bears channel. My heart is in that channel, but it has been so much fun approaching this team from an outsider's view, and you guys have been so generous, and this channel is growing. Let's continue to have fun here and build this community. So we'll talk soon. I will be here on the daily, and enjoy this bye week. Get some rest. No stress. You're not going to lose a game this week, and I think you're going to start out 5-1. See ya.